Welcome back from the breaks, folks. We are getting into the second half of the day. Favelas, Arial Arise is the matchup we have now. And CJ, this one's interesting because, if you had asked me before this stage what I thought, kind of looking into the future, when you say Favelas versus Arial Arise, I would have told you simple. Arial Arise has this, but Favelas is they're turning some heads this stage so far.
Yeah, they're focused and they're having fun. Right, given their circumstance, they're having fun. Arrow is looking young and athletic. Slothy is looking like the next best thing. People are talking Gavini and Silent. Slothy better be a part of those lists of names as well, as a future overall number one pick. Because Rudy and Bio are a great supporting staff for this man. It's perfect. He's exactly what he needed to further his career. Some leadership. And that's what he's getting on Favelas. And a lot of people are probably checking them out in this one. I think they can fight it in this game. I think they can take them.
Arial Arise, they are 2-1. Now, they are not quite as explosive, I would say, as a team like Reality TV, but they do pack a punch, Connor.
Yeah, they're kind of a sleeper pick that you might not necessarily think are, OMG, they're the best team in the league, but they really do want to prove you wrong. Courts being included in this roster has made the attacking duo of him and Freak look a lot stronger in the early round, and even though Tones does a little bit of trolling and sometimes he dies first on the hard breach, he does do well on that support role. He does good droning. He's especially good on the defensive side where he can really anchor down a bomb site, but not quite as good as Freak, who kind of the only bad stats he's had has actually been on the defensive side, but an absolute force on the attacking front and locking that Ash, making space. Typically with this roster, we say space maker. It's a joke. It's not this time. Freak is being a good space maker.
Now, Favelas being 2-0 to start the stage so far, Cookies. This isn't a 2-0 against some, bottom feeder teams, let's say. This is against Aqualix and One Shot. So these wins they have some legitimacy behind them.
You bet. You know what else is legitimate? Barring is legitimate. A lot of people, we'd roast him.
A lot.
Right? People were like, he's negative 5,000 last stage. He retired and went to Valorant. But here's the thing with Barring. Right? He's a guy who's going to appear ever. He's going to do what he needs to do to win rounds in this current day and age. In November 24th of 2022, you need a wild hatter on your team. And the thing is, when you play like that, we're seeing it in the flesh. You may go negative 40. You may go plus 40 because the other team's not ready for whatever is happening. Barring, I guarantee you, has more hours on the V game that ends in rant than he does on this game. But he's still playing well because he's a maniac. And yes, I think they should continue embracing this fun environment that they have. They have injuries. Arrow's playing with a lingering injury. Bio's like 60 years old. But, they're hanging in there. And they should embrace what they are. And it's working.
You said a lot of things, and I listened to most of them, but CJ, do you know what month it is right now?
Did I say the right month?
You said November.
Dude.
Yeah. Okay, I just had to make sure. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you were safe and sound, and there wasn't anything wrong. Connor, what in your critical points? What month are you reading out these critical points in?
It's obviously February.
Right. Thank you. Okay,
Yep.
CJ. Oh,
yeah. It's February. F for Favelas, and the biggest
That
thing
wasn't a
for it-
joke. Like, I didn't. That was not intentional. All right. Go ahead with your critical point.
I'm trying to stay focused on this one, but that's rough from CJ. But with Favelas, the biggest thing that we've seen so far in these two games is, for lack of a better term, their athleticism. And it's with the team just being able to move together as one and flip the switch on a moment's notice, just leading Bio's IGL calls. As soon as they see a gap, they're going to go for it. They're going to explode. And for Arial Arise, you can make any criticism towards them except the fact that they are a system. They are a very well-oiled system of 5 players that believe in themselves and play together insanely well. And that's going to need to be the case today, where you're going to have to see if somebody starts getting the site hit, that roamers need to come back fast. This is a team that needs to play together. And especially, you got to look at that Freak versus Slothy matchup, where Freak, he's a lot better on the attacking side, and Slothy, most of his success has come from his defensive roam game. So as soon as those two titans clash, whoever comes out might just make enough space or hold enough space for the rest of the team to win the round.
Okay, the only thing to do now is to go to the map. And speaking of well-oiled systems, I'm going to stick with you, Connor, because you seem a little more well-oiled than Cookies at the moment.
I don't even know what.
Yes, this is the correct month that we're going to talk about here, with Chalet and Border going down for the side of Arial Arise. They're maps that they really haven't played that often. They lean more towards the auto ban on that side, as well as removing the bank in the theme park for Favelas. That makes sense because Arial Arise, they've done a little bit of damage on both of those maps. However, the one I really want to focus on is that final ban of the Favelas skyscraper. We saw Favelas play Aqualix on that very map and look incredibly well oiled. However, they don't go to it. I think that's because it was a potential trap card for Arial Arise. They were going to see the VODs, they were going to understand exactly how the skyscraper for Favelas was going to operate. Instead, we're going to Villa, which is a map that we haven't seen the Favelas play in the last two stages.
Well, Cookies, I thought Arial Arise, they have a pretty decent Villa as well. Or do you think maybe it's the known quantity is the reason why, kind of alluding to what Connor was talking about, maybe it feels like Skyscraper was too much of a risk, and at least let's go to the beast we do know than the beast we don't.
Definitely. At least from personal experience, when I play on Skyscraper, it is anxiety inducing. And even though it has been in the game for 6 years, it has been reworked, and it is still very frustrating. And it's a constant learning process, right? Even though whatever, right? I'm sure it's the same for these guys, especially for someone like maybe a Barring. So I could totally understand to go to a more comfortable map like Villa. And you know what? As a result, I'm going to change my vote.
Ooh, interesting.
I'm going to change my vote.
This is the first one, Connor, that we have today that is a split vote. This is one that I do think at this point, overtime is not out of the question between these two teams.
It definitely isn't, because this is going to be an incredibly close game. And one thing that just struck my mind that I don't want to really gloss over is the fact that this is Quartz's revenge game from a team he was dropped off of. Not that he left, he was dropped off of this roster, even though he put up the best stats. So I'm really tempted to switch votes. I really am, but there's just something about the way the Favelas play. And now we're going towards a map that, once again, this is the beast that you don't know. I think Arial Arise might get a little bit caught off guard, especially because, in particular, haven't really been a huge fan of Arial Arise when they've played this map.
Well, as much as the victor is in doubt, the one thing that we're not in doubt of is we are going to have one hell of a match right now. We are going to throw to the casters as we go to Villa.
Like you guys said, this game is a lot closer in our minds than I think a lot of us would have thought at the beginning of the season. A lot of us wrote Favelas off, and they have come out swinging, and they're looking to do so again against another top 4 team.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams, as far as in the grand scheme of things, they've both been pretty good. It's just about, do you catch him on a good day, or do you catch him on the less frequent bad day? I mean, both these teams, they've had overall positive performances across the year, but they've also had some rough patches. And while we are 3 play days in, that's not quite enough of a sample size, especially because the Favelas have only played 2 games to really get an idea of how this stage is going to shape up for both of these teams. Arial Arise, they lost to Aqualix, and then they have 2 wins under their belts, but those 2 wins are against 2 of the bottom-ranked teams in this stage right now. So a lot of questions, and I think Villa should have a lot of answers for us, especially if Favelas can keep this close or take this one, because as we've talked about, Villa is a good Arial Arise map.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that Arial Arise, show us that they aren't just taking their freebie wins, that they are a top contender, because if we all remember, at the beginning of this year, Arial Arise looked very good. Towards last stage, they fell off pretty hard. In fact, they almost got relegated. What place did they end up finishing? They finished in 8th, just ahead of Unemployment. In fact, 1 point ahead of Unemployment. So they did not do well last stage. They seem to be on a bit of a resurgence, but again, hopefully it's not just freebie wins.
We'll find out. We'll dive into Villa in just a moment. I know our players are just about ready to go. But for the Favelas, right? It was also brought up by our desk that this is a great test for them, right? Obviously, Arial Rise, a good test for them to see, are you more than just 2 freebie wins? But the Favelas, this is also to answer the question, okay, you've only played 2 games. Can you keep this consistent, and can you keep this consistent against the top competition as Arial Rise are appearing to shape up to be? If Favelas can do that, they will establish themselves as a top team here in Stage 3, and as they've already done, continue to work their way up this leaderboard, right? A great performance against Aqualix is the real thing that differentiates these 2 teams, because Favelas were able to win over Aqualix and Arial Rise. They ended up losing in overtime.
Yeah, so as we load into the game, we'll start getting our bans out. Nook, probably, actually, I think the most common attacker ban we've got now in Challenger League. She has almost completely replaced Thatcher. People just don't want to deal with her ability to sneak up behind you, really catch you off guard. And that's a set of nades gone. Remember, because a lot of people lost their nades. Nook, one of the very few that kept them. And now Sledge and Iana are really the only meta operators who have those.
Yeah, we really don't see as many nades in play, period, across the board because of the changes we've seen recently. And like you said, Harrison, with the Nook ban, those nades will continue to be fewer and further between. So I imagine we'll see a good bit of that Sledge and a good bit of that Yana. This is Villa after all, so the soft destruction of the Sledge is always so important. And when the Yana has those coveted nades in pocket, it's really something you're likely to see all the time, especially from these competent entry fraggers. But you never know, maybe we'll mix it up with similar destructive potential, like someone like an Ash brings to the table. Because while you may not have those nades, you still have those breaching rounds, which can serve a similar purpose, at least in terms of utility clear, as long as just getting kills isn't your focus.
Yeah, of course, Ash being a little bit back in the meta, as we've seen now that we had a recoil change. A lot of people forgot about that. Yeah, she's back in. Zoe is back in. We'd be seeing, well, not back in, but the M762 is back in, and it's something that I've definitely enjoyed a lot. I really miss that gun. I'm very happy that we don't see LMG meta anymore. It was, let's all be honest, it was a bit boring. So glad things have kind of mellowed out. Speaking of Arial Rise too, Jonah, as you've been in Europe for a long time, which I hope was, where were you, Belgium?
Belgium and Amsterdam. It was wonderful.
Oh, cool. Did you, where were you in Belgium? Like Brussels, or did it look like somewhere where the English and German settled their differences?
It was Brussels, and then I went to the north to more medieval towns, Bruges and Ghent, if you know where that is.
Well, while you were there, Tones has been a star for Arial Rise. Obviously, not like, not like 3 at 3.0 KD or anything, but an extremely consistent support player. And as I say that, he goes down first. Slothy just walks right in, gets immediately traded out. Jay finds 2 kills for himself. I feel like Favelas wanted to go for a real fast play into sight, and they end up getting hammered. Not, of course, not in like a 1v4 situation like that. They're still in striking position, but losing the man count like that, definitely not the situation they wanted.
Yeah, that was not the way that the Favelas were hoping to start this game whatsoever. An explosive early attack, sure, but yeah, you've lost 3 bodies. I mean, you've claimed 2 kills. You've lit up Jay quite a bit, but since Rudy is also quite lit up himself, not the best position to be in, even though you've got a full minute 45 left on the clock, because now you've got to spend the rest of this round just avoiding these pesky defenders lurking around the bottom floor, but also getting some intel of your own, figuring out where these final few defenders on the site are actually positioned, because as we're seeing from Reed right here, they're going to make sure to stay fluid and unpredictable.
No C4 for Reed or Jay. means that this is going to come down to straight gunfights, and with how low Jay is, this could very easily come down to a much more winnable 2v2 for the Favelas. Something else I like is they've been really using what little drones they had left. They still have one each that they could potentially move into this site and collect more info. We certainly know Reed's got plenty of that, playing that Valkyrie, who has been left unbanned, something we don't see too often nowadays. And Reed, the Valkyrie I just mentioned, ends up picking up the kill as Rudy tried to escape. Now it's just Arrow in a 1 versus 3. Almost sees one by Vault. He'll give the call. Jay might be the next to swing as the ace keeps firing, but it's a bait from Arrow. He's got one. 2 more to go. He'll try opening Vault. Make Quartz's position a little bit more exposed. He baits the peek, but takes the brunt of the damage. In comes Reed, and Arial Arise take round 1.
A textbook early start for Arial Arise, holding very strongly against whatever the Favelas were hoping to throw at them, and, you know, throwing some defensive aggression in the attacker's face as well. Love the patience, though, that we also saw in the end. You know, those last 3 defenders refusing to give up their positions at all, knowing how capable anyone on the Favelas is, even in a 2v3 situation. 2v3 is certainly not the most one-sided situation you're ever going to see, especially with a lot of time on the clock. So, as long as Arial Arise stayed patient, they knew they could win that round, and that's exactly what they did. So, good opening on Aviator and Games, and well positioned there by Reed in the end to claim those final 2 kills. I'm sure using those Valk cameras well as a team to make sure some intel was being provided as to the whereabouts of those final few attackers. So, shifting things up now, going over to the trophy and statuary side of things to go for the back-to-back round repeat if they can.
Yeah, and of course, Valkyrie is going to be a really big part of this game. Not her ban rate. So when I mentioned the Valkyrie not being banned, she hasn't been banned as much on other maps because obviously you can't throw them outside anymore. Not as powerful. Villa has still been a mainstay for her because you never really threw them outside on Villa anyway. There's so much C4 potential on this map that Valkyrie is huge for any defense. Now, Arial Arise aren't playing her in this round, figuring that the Legion, the Capcan, maybe even the Frost is going to be intel enough. They're not really playing too much downstairs, at least not with C4. So it's going to be Jay and Freak down there to try and delay the Favelas for as long as possible, or really slow that clear down if the plan was to get that mute jammer from below. But there is still that C4 potential that the attack has to worry about.
Right, but the play downstairs, it really is just 2 defenders sitting down there without a ton of utility to support them. Yes, they've got utility in pocket, like those C4s you mentioned, but it's likely, given the lack of reinforcements, other utility in position, that they're going to rotate back to the site if that pressure does eventually build. The question remains, of course, if the Favelas want to clear out that first floor at all, and right now, it doesn't look like they're going to be inclined to do so because the pressure on the site that they're building is good enough. They've already claimed the opening kill. The mute Reed is gone. That's a C4 off the board, and that is, of course, the player who got those final 2 kills in that previous round. Quartz, though, he comes up with an answer for it. He finds a way to take down Slothy, and a big pick as well, also removing some of that explosive potential in the hands of their opponents.
Yeah, so you trade an explosive utility, really, and I would consider that a better pick for Arial Arise because while they have redundancy in the C4 that Jay's looking to use right now, I think it's pre-placed. That was the Favela's only set of nades, so really all they have going for them in terms of destruction is, depending on the utility, they've got Twitch, they've got Barring and Rudy as well, but they're just trying to find frags. Barring and Bio go big, but Freak fights back. He's on 1 HP, but he's got 2 kills. Looking for more as he comes through landing, but he'll finally be finished off. Jay now flanks through bathroom. Arrow escapes for now, trying getting the plant down, but what a headshot. He does sparring, but as he tries to peek, Arrow bests him through the breach. Makes sure the round doesn't spiral out of control thanks to the efforts of 2 defenders. And we're all tied up at 1 apiece.
Yeah, all tied up thanks to some really good, I'd say, footwork there in the end by the Favelas, making sure that they could, push in and just take care of those fights, right? They saw the opening. I think it was Barring who really was the first to spearhead that push, and they found the gap and they exploited it. Really well done to take that control into statuary, finding the gap and preventing Arial Arise from collapsing. Freak nearly did that. Freak nearly single-handedly won that round for Arial Arise because even after that push had come through, he made sure to swing around the other side and get those 2 kills back. But in the end, even though Jay got 1 kill, he was lit up enough by the initial fight that the second kill was much harder to find. So trading rounds back to back, and already some creativity coming out from Arial Arise on the defensive side. We're going down to living room and library, folks.
Definitely the least played site on the map. One of the least played sites in the game, actually, as of right now. I'm interested to see what Arial Arise have to bring to the table, because we know Arial, they love new maps, they love different sites. They've got a castle set up. Of course, they'll be setting up upstairs as well. The floor holes being opened up, I believe, by Quartz. Will get you a nice long angle where those single panel walls are. Yeah, all the way down there. You get pretty much the entirety of that section of living. You open up the bottoms of those walls to make clock harder to plan for the attackers. You lock off a lot of those entrances with the castle to try and funnel into the sight lines that you have set up. I like the hold so far from Arial. We'll see if Favelas, as in, a basically midway between a pug stack and an actual team. We'll see if they're able to pick apart this defense.
Yeah, not going to be easy considering how heavy it is extended and how many other elements they're going to have to worry about here as an attacking team, right? This is not something you do all the time. In fact, you rarely ever attack living room and library. So getting this one down is not generally a habit for a team even like the Favelas, right? They need to have a good plan and they've got to execute it quickly. So easy on a site like this to let the time just kind of disappear as you are a little indecisive and you're not sure how early you want to push that top floor, if you even want to clear out that top floor, exactly how you're going to approach this site at all. Now that we're halfway through this round, it's becoming clear that the Favelas looks like they're interested in going direct. They're just going to push straight on in, but Quartz is waiting for them. They read that perfectly. Sitting on that vertical angle, there is nothing that the Favelas could do to get by him. Barring gets one back, and that's something, but it's still a 3v4.
Yeah, it's just the castle. And I'm surprised that the Favelas got caught by that. Bio is a very experienced leader. In fact, everyone on this team is rather experienced. You have to take top floor. There are going to be kill holes upstairs everywhere. There are no freebies in living room library unless you get, the greatest rush of all time. But now Barring's upstairs. He's hunting for Quartz, but it's behind the bar where the C4 will come from. It'll miss. Now Quartz is left with just his SMG-11. Tentative support from main stairs, but Barring finally comes up and gets the kill. They're looking for the other, trying to pinch on Tones, but Tones goes out with a bang. Finds one before he dies. Freak will fade back to the site. Now trying to tag team with Jay. There's only 15 seconds for them to play with. It's consolidation. Definitely the right move as Barring and Rudy try to pinch from opposite directions. Rudy picks up that case. He's trying to move in towards default, but does not check his corner. Jay with a freebie. Barring's got 3 seconds left. Stunned by the Elamine. Finished by Freak. And Arial take the lead off the offsite.
Love when defensive teams mix it up and surprise you, because those are the kind of things that can happen. That exact outcome on a bunch of different maps is possible when you pull out a surprise objective, because sometimes attacking teams do not have a clear formulated plan with how they want to approach it. We saw that exact thing from the Favelas. Frankly, it was disjointed. We saw a 2-man push into the site attempting to go for a bit of a rush play. Sure, I get it if you want to commit to a full rush or a sneaky plant and you want to commit as a team. That is not what we saw. It was the Habana, it was the Sledge, and that was it. Where was the rest of the team, you ask? Elsewhere, right? And it doesn't matter because they were not in position to support them. They weren't upstairs taking vertical control. That was apparent because Quartz was able to get 2 easy shotgun kills. Maybe they were droning and helping out that way, but they were not doing enough to get that trade, to get that pressure back. There was really a lack of commitment there from the Favelas, and that got them into trouble.
It was a really weird split from them, and maybe that's, again, down to the fact that you don't scrim that site often. I mean, Favelas don't scrim often anyways, so I doubt they really ever got that site in. We're back to normalcy, though. AVG for Arial Arise. Site that they won initially because the Favelas tried to play a rush. Didn't work out so great. Doesn't look like they're going to be going for it again. It's a much more standard master over clear, doing a full take all the way over towards the map. There is one person downstairs, though. That's going to be Quartz. Interestingly enough, it's the Malusi down there. No C4 potential. So maybe just down there as a distraction, but it seems like the Favelas aren't pushing him, at least for now.
Reek just holding this long angle, though. Very aware that the Favelas are building up pressure on this trophy and statuary side of the map. Slothy's the first one to really push in. Helps to have those Gemini clones at the helm to guide you, to guide that path as you work your way in, getting some more intel before you really take that control. Speaking of intel, though, this might be a problem. Quartz may have been misdroned, and he is now left alone to sit downstairs, and that could be a serious threat later in this round.
He did shoot at the drone, but it didn't come back to check. So maybe they're just like, oh, someone's memo, and just continued on with their day. But they're not droning it again. Yeah, maybe they didn't see or hear the shots. It's a bit odd. We'll have to keep a close eye on Quartz and what he does in the rest of this round as the attackers start to converge on 90. EMP goes out. Ace opening that vault wall. Someone's going to directly challenge it. It looked like Jay was happy to sit there and take the peek, but wisely backs off. That is not a fight you usually want to take. Gemini Replicator ends up burning the Aruni gate. And the Favelas are starting to set up for this execute. But again, if they get too sidetracked, then Quartz comes into play. But it seems like they're aware.
Oh, this is key for Slothy, holding this angle as long as he can. But of course, they can't afford that forever. There eventually needs to be a site that they actually choose to push. Barring might choose to hunt him. No, he's going to go right up the stairs, maybe baiting Quartz to take this swing. No, the flank watch, they're stopping it. They're just going to commit to this push. And it looks like, I mean, since you've got Arrow looking the other way, that they didn't know at all. Bomb's going down, but Quartz's flank is very successful. He whips around and gets two. Reed is able to pick up one as well. It is all up to Bio, and there's nothing he's going to be able to do to stop this defuse. Well played from Quartz. A triple kill on the round, finishing it off with a pistol just for good measure. What a flank, and what a display of simple gun skill and game sense.
Yeah, that was tremendous from Quartz, and especially important because the first death in that site was Jay. Favelas had the opener. They were planting, and they knew Quartz was going to get that flank off. That's what I love about that as well. Arial Arise did not begin their retake until Quartz was up the stairs. The timing was impeccable. I really thought the Favelas maybe knew, because Slothy was watching that staircase pretty intently, but once Barring came up, he abandoned it. So I guess that was just a default flank watch just to make space for Barring to join the team. So beautiful stuff from Arial Arise. Quartz completely ignored. He gets the kill on the Lion. We saw another player from Arial get a kill. I think it was Reed. It was someone else. It was someone with an SMG-11. I can't quite remember. But yeah, someone with that SMG-11 got the kill as Quartz came up with the flank. So the Iana wasn't covering because he was too busy trying to refrag the Lion, and then Bio, left on an island. Great stuff from Quartz. As the analyst has said, a bit of a grudge match for him, and he's starting off strong.
Yeah, great way to begin on this map, especially when, honestly, every round so essential at this stage in the game. Villa is one of these maps these days that really goes 50-50 very often, and if Arial Arise can keep racking these rounds up on defense, I only expect the attack to look eerily similar. The Favelas, they've got to come up with an answer, and if for their sake, they've got to do it soon. Of course, we're going back to Trophy and Statuary, and this is the site that they were able to secure last time we were here, so reasonable expectation is that they will come back swinging and continue to apply that pressure, especially to this master bedroom side, as we can see from Rudy now. We also see some pressure building from down below as Slothy with the drone out in front of him will be looking to clear out downstairs.
Quartz coming up, destroying the X-Kairos on Pantry. He'll do away with most of them. Freak ends up getting the opener on Slothy. Big player.
Oh,
Jay,
no.
another on the bio as he's just watching that Astro hatch. If he didn't get the kill, Quartz probably would have coming up behind him. Barring does get one on Tones, but still, you've lost IQ, your main counter to that Valkyrie. You lost Iana, again, your only set of nades. Your destruction now severely limited to just Barring, who only has one shot left. I don't even know if that's an impact or a stun. Either way, not a great situation for the Favelas at all.
No, not at all. They need to find a way to make this last minute count. They hopefully have an idea of where Reed is coming from. It doesn't look like it because he would be a free kill if they did. Instead, they're just going to focus on getting this site open, not worrying too much about this clear or about any other positions that the defense might be holding. But Reed is so close to finding an opportunity for that kill. Right now, the Favela is very focused on what's ahead of them, droning out this site to get some intel. Rudy, using that very intel, will take down Freak with a nice shot, and that returns us to an even 3v3 with only 25 seconds left in this round.
The Astro upside down repel, definitely dangerous to expose yourself to as a defender. Arrow and Barring duoing through bathroom. All three attackers now meet up in Astro. So they've completely abandoned the master side of things. The site is empty. Defenders all playing back. C4 still underneath as well as the plant starts going down from Arrow. Quartz, does he have the info? Up comes the C4, but it's in the wrong spot. Reed and Barring will trade blows, but the plant in the meantime has been completed. Jay wraps around, fells Barring, and leaves Arrow alone, and he can't come up with the kill. Down he goes to Quartz. Jay gets the finisher, and Arial Arise get a 4th point.
Gotta say, that wraparound from Jay that you called out, I think that has to be the winning moment there for Arial Arise.
Absolutely.
So much in that round came down to that exact kill, where Barring probably had the advantage there. It looked like he had the advantage. The thing is, he didn't know exactly where the defenders were positioned, and Jay took full advantage of that, ensuring that he could get that pre-fire, even with that DMR. I mean, not a weapon that you generally want to take against an AR in close quarters like that, but he made it work, getting that kill, leaving Arrow out to dry, and in that 2v1, that's as simple as it's ever going to get for Arial Arise. Just as standard as it's going to get, because Arrow could not watch both angles. So even though he probably expected somebody to be coming up from those Astro stairs, given that there was a C4 down below that he saw get detonated, there was nothing he could do because he was vulnerable to both angles at the same time. So well done there from Jay. Well done there by Arial Arise as a whole to take that round. And as we're seeing 4-1 right now, the score, the final attempt now from the Favelas to recover this attacking half is going to have to come on Living Room and Library, where they failed spectacularly last time.
Impressive from Jay as well, because remember, Jay and Reed started out of the site. They were originally extended, so once they got that kill, they crept back in. I love Jay. Jay's always been, I feel like, such an underrated player. So Jay is great. End rant. Back to Living Room Library, like you said. I love this site, too. When it's played correctly. If it's played incorrectly, then it's one of the worst sites in the game. I mean, I guess you could say that about any site, but there's a lot that has to go right for the defense when it comes to Living Room Library. One of them, I guess, being the attack, not really knowing how to take it, though I'm sure Favela's a little more well-read than they were just, 3 or 4 rounds ago. I imagine they're not going to make the same mistake twice. They'll probably force out Quartz from upstairs before trying to bottleneck into Living Room.
I mean, I think it's a pretty common mistake we see a lot of attacking teams make on this site, that they just do not put in the effort to clear out the top floor. And it's a reasonable mistake, given that this site down below seems very vulnerable. Just rolling a drone through it, there's just so much square footage for the defenders to have to cover. If you look at Reed, you look at Jay right now, the only 2 defenders on the site itself, that's a lot of space that just 2 people need to cover when you look at it horizontally. But when you expand your eye upward and you look at the soft destruction, you look at how much Arial Arise can hold from that top floor, you do realize how essential it is to force them out. They can deny pretty much every default plant spot with ease, and they can deny you simply walking into the site, as we saw Quartz do expertly last time. Opener, though, goes the way of Slothy, as Freak is not simply waiting for something to happen. He's going to hold a more active angle and take care of the Yana as he tried to take map control. Freak gets another. That's 2 kills for him as Rudy is taken care of. Bio has an answer, but is it a little too late? Quartz? Are you kidding me? Gets another 2 back-to-back kills with the SMG-11 to close out the round. My goodness.
Wow. Quartz said it for me in chat. So, yeah, I mean, we'll just watch the replay. We didn't get to see the replay. Either way, that was incredible. And at this point, round pretty much unwinnable for Barring anyway. But that final kill just icing on the cake. Quartz stuck in a corner. Barring knows exactly where he is. And Quartz still wins the fight. So, I mean, I guess we can start with the fact that the Favelas, all credit to them. They did try to clear the top floor this time instead of just shoving their way into sight. So an A for effort, just not in result. Reek was playing 90, definitely caught Slothy off guard, rotated back into sight to kill another. And I mean, at that point, as soon as Quartz got that trade, I mean, it was round over. You just don't have the manpower to fully clear top floor and then transition downstairs. You just don't. It's just not possible anymore. Not without soft Freak, at least, to make extra angles and expose those defenders. So incredibly well done to the duo roam from Freak and Quartz. Tones as well for being able to stall those study players for so long and allow Freak to isolate those guys coming from the master side of things. So 5-1 half. Yeah. Especially this day and age on Villa, pretty damn good defensive half.
Yeah, fantastic start here for Arial Arise. I know we were all split on our votes overall on this map, but right now I think everyone who predicted Arial Arise, they're feeling pretty good. But here's where we may see a change, right? Arial Arise, they could either absolutely storm ahead with this game right here if they take this round, or they could find themselves down the momentum and give the Favelas a fighting chance. Why? Because they're pulling out the shenanigans here. They're bringing out the Blitz, they're bringing out the Amaru, and they are going to send it into the site. Tones actually gets the kill he was looking for. Freak died first, so it is an even 4v4, but this explosiveness from Arial Arise, here it is.
Ports another one on the Dokkaebi. Arrow gets the refrag, gets warded against Blitz. Reads hard counter, but he still wins! He wins the fight! Slothy with a big refrag on Tones, though, to keep his team in this, but Quartz on the boar window shuts him down. Slothy's in a 1v2, but both these attackers are playing paintball, but no, Slothy, he's got proxies, no impacts. Might be a harder fight against this Blitz than he would have liked. More smokes going out to cover this plant attempt, but no. Cases on study bow. Reed is using the smokes just to get there to pick up the diffuser. But Slothy's watching the cross. Reed exposes his back, but Slothy misses the shots. Not quick enough on the trigger, and now they know where he is. Reed sneaks his way in. Shield in front of his face, plant going down. Slothy, you don't have impacts. You need to swing to deny. He won't be able to deny the plant, but he will get him off the lift. Both kills for Slothy, a triple kill on the round, and he saves the Favelas from match point.
That is unreal. How does Slothy pull that one off after missing a few bullets when he could have killed the Blitz and then having another opportunity to win it? He did not squander it the second time. Downing the Dokkaebi, who was already on so low health, and then finishing off the Blitz as that bomb just goes down. So well played in the end. I mean, you got to take that fight. Slothy knew he had to take that fight, and even though the diffuser was able to go down just a moment before, all that matters is he found the kills and he took that round win. So as I said, Arial Arise, either they win it right there or they give the Favelas a chance to come back, and it looks like the latter has become a reality.
And I mean, not only a big round for the momentum for the Favelas, but I mean, if they lost a round like that, GG. I mean, not only are you 5 rounds down, but you lose to an Amaru Blitz Rush? That is demoralizing. That is crushing. But now, I mean, like you said, not only have Arial Arise maybe been halted, the Favelas have more than just momentum. They're hyped. They're pumped up after that. That was a big clutch from Slothy. So they move on to Trophy. Valkyrie's still up. Instead of that Wamai, he'll trade that role to Arrow. Full frontal shield right there in bricks, covered by a lot of utility. They have both the Jaeger and the Wamai. They will forego the Aruni, but those two are usually Aruni only comes into play when that Wamai is banned. Wamai just gives you more opportunity to catch those projectiles, as he has what? How many discs does he have? 5? As opposed to Aruni's 3 gates? I think it's 5.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers change like 8 different times, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure, yes, it's 5. You get a couple through the round, and there you go. But as far as this defense is concerned, just with those Wamai magnets, regenerating them as the round continues, using that in combination with the ADSs, and then you've got some pretty strong power positions to hold if you can. Of course, won't be able to deny the entry outright because, like you said, those Surya gates are not in position, but with proper intel, use of these prox alarms, we actually don't see the proxies from Arrow this time. We see the impacts instead. You should be able to deny, or at least have a pretty good idea of where this attack is coming from. Barring had a pretty good idea of where Tones was trying to push in from. The Dokkaebi, up to her usual shenanigans, is the first one taken off the board. So the Favelas have found a little something, and they are looking to add to that momentum. There's a good kill, 5v4 from them halfway through this round.
And Barbar Binks, despite having his phone ring, still gets that kill. Impact just in time from Arrow to deny the initial breach attempt from Reed, but he will lose his shield in the process. So no more coverage right on that door. Maybe speed things up a little bit for Arial Arise, but there's still this downstairs presence that could be oh so dangerous, especially with the Valkyrie on the board. You've got Slothy pre-placing his C4. Rudy can rotate downstairs at any time and play for a C4 of his own if he hasn't already, but they do spot it. The power of the IQ. Freak finds the C4. I thought he was about to try and clear it downstairs by himself, but it's actually Quartz already down there, looking to get the kill on the Valkyrie, but he doesn't check downstairs. He's moving in with no info, and Slothy gets a freebie.
Yeah, that one was a little bit unusual from Quartz. Usually you see the veteran checking every angle before pushing into something. He knows better, but dying to that very position now puts all of Arial Arise in a lot of trouble. They're gonna walk in and get flawless. Everyone pushing in at the same time in the end. You see a good bit of aggression there from Barring 2, pushing into bedroom just to solidify that kill, and they'll do so with relative ease. There it is. That's back-to-back rounds for the Favelas. I got no idea what just happened in the end there.
So it was a couple freebies, Barring on the Tones, Slothy on the Quartz that we actually saw. And then it seemed like the idea from Arial Arise was to cut their losses and attempt to push Astro. Freak led the charge with, oh crap, I already forgot who was playing Nomad. I think it was Jay. I don't know. I'm just going to say Nomad. So Freak was leading the charge with Nomad right behind him, and Freak only downed the smoke after the gas was sent out. So there was gas hurting them. Slothy was still on Astro stairs and ended up getting both players to trade out his teammate in the corner because it's kind of hard to, to flick from that corner to the staircase. It's like a full 90-degree turn. And yeah, I mean, the bathroom push just kind of fell apart thanks to a smoke canister and a guy on Astro. Like you said, 2 rounds for the Favelas. Momentum in their corner. Arial Arise have to find some way to put a stop to it.
Yeah, this has quickly become a serious match, and Barring is looking to continue that momentum. Oh no, that would have been brutal for Arial Arise for the 3rd round in a row to lose Tone so early and to lose so much of that momentum, but he survives just by the skin of his teeth. Barring definitely wants that one back.
Speaking of
Okay.
getting it back, Bio wishes he could have that one, as Freak gets the opener on a bit of an odd gunfight. So you've lost Valkyrie. You have lost your only C4, but it is Dining Kitchen. Not the biggest site in terms of C4 potential. Impact goes out, destroys most of the X-Kairos. Arrow does, he does still have one, but he's not going to use it. He's just going to let the wall go. Baring trades himself out with Quartz. He's not dead. He's still down. We could potentially see a pickup, but nope. We saw someone rushing to his aid. Slothy looked like he wanted to go for it, but Freak comes in to maintain the man advantage for his team. That leaves Arrow and Rudy on site. Slothy barring away as Rudy gets the equalizer, puts Tones on the ground. We're back to a 3-on-3 with half the round to go.
Yeah, still anyone's game. A full minute 20 remaining in this round. And Arrow the Rise, they can't afford to take their time here. They only have 2 active drones still up in the pocket of Freak and Reed, respectively. And they need to use those effectively here because they've got to find a way to pinpoint these final defenders' locations. You don't have your Lion anymore to give you that EE1D, and the IQ scanner may help you a little bit, but it's not going to actually tell you where these defenders are. Looks like they're just going to work their way on in, but Arrow is lying in wait. He takes down Freak, no problem. A little shot from Rudy will finish off Reed, and it's all up to Jay. Just like that, the IQ, the last player standing, gets 2 big kills, only has 1 more to find. Still 40 seconds. He has time to recover this diffuser, but does he know that Slothy is coming in from China, coming in from the other side? The rotate doesn't work, and he looks the wrong way. It is a triple kill and a big clutch from Jay to give Arial Rise another round.
Oh my god! Just when I talked about Jay being underrated, he is proving to us exactly why that should not be the case. That round should have been over. Sure, Arial Rise had a 2-man advantage, but a disastrous execute trying to move through, or well, disastrous setup and then execute with Rudy and Arrow holding the site down, not letting anyone pass except for one. They collected every kill they needed to except for Jay, and it was a mistake that ended up costing them the round.
3 kills, wow.
That is astounding. With the Commando 2, not the best gun in the game. Very slow. I mean, it hits like a truck, but very slow firing. You're going up against a DMR. I mean, 2 headshots. Actually, I think all 3 headshots. All Slothy needed to do was connect 1 or 2 bullets, but unfortunately, just looked the wrong way. Jay pulled the perfect bait and switch, pre-firing from around the bomb chassis. And as that 3-speed, you're pretty quiet. Slothy thought he was still there. You saw him pre-aiming over that bomb chassis. And by that time, Jay was already at the double door. Incredible clutch to give his team match point. And like we said, with the clutch from Slothy giving his team the momentum, now it's back squarely in Arial Rise's corner.
Yeah, that kind of a clutch will immediately stop any momentum that you're building if you get clutched against you. Which is exactly what the Favelas are certainly feeling right now. Of course, we can absolutely see them pull this out. This is clearly shaping up to be a defensive-sided Villa right now. So if the Favelas can try to find some of that success they did on their first and second attempts, I mean, they're not out of this one yet by any means. 3 rounds is not a ridiculous gap. It's totally comeback territory for them if they can make something happen here. But Arial Rise, they do have a bit of a cushion to play with. They can win now, win in the next 2 rounds. They do have 3 match point opportunities to put this game away. On the attacking side, even though they've had some early problems, right now at least, they're able to get up to the building safely. Tones isn't taking a bunch of early damage from a spawn peek from Barring, and nothing of the sort. Sports is in the building, they're getting these drones going, and they are getting this map under their control.
Sports with an easy picking on Barring as he slinks down the red stairs. Wrong place, wrong time for the Malusi. And Quartz already perfectly placed the cutoff. Knowing that if he goes downstairs for those nades, someone's probably going to try to make him uncomfortable and challenge him. So he was already He was already prepared. And that's an early man advantage and taking out the top frag of the defense.
Oh, as Freak walks in, he's able to take care of Bio. Rudy will answer back quickly, but still one man advantage in the favor of Arial Arise. A 4v3. You've lost Bio, and that is a big deal because he was your smoke player. Now, on the other side of things, Tones was working his way in the building all alone with the case, which is never a good idea because Rudy now has firm control and he knows exactly where Arial Arise have to go now. They've got to recover this diffuser, so Arial Arise can, rather, the Favelas can reposition accordingly and put themselves in a winning position for this round.
And as you can see, speaking of reposition, everyone from Arial Arise, all 3 members have to abandon the study clear to pick up this case. They don't have the manpower anymore because of those trades to keep pressure study while also hunting for this diffuser. Freak not expecting Arrow to reposition. Rudy, a brilliant shot on a J, making a 4th. 4 kills for Rudy as he holds down this case. The perfect operator to do so. And that'll save Favelas from defeat and keep him alive for at least 1 round longer.
That's one of those moments where if your opponents are feeling a bit chippy, they're gonna like throw a bunch of question marks in chat after Tones dies. Because what exactly was the Lion doing by himself in bathroom with no support and the diffuser? A question that I think everyone in this lobby is going to be asking themselves, because it doesn't seem like something that you would do intentionally if you're Arial Arise. Everyone on that team is smarter than that. They put him and left him alone with the most important piece of utility in their pocket, the very diffuser that they have to recover. So maybe something that they're going to want to revisit in this next round, but regardless of that error, gotta give it up to the Favelas. You gotta give it up to Rudy specifically for realizing the opportunity they had in front of them and not squandering it at all. 2 players beautifully repositioned, both Rudy and Arrow, repositioned to cover that diffuser, and they held it down like champs. That's exactly what you've got to do. You don't have to play the site anymore. You play the case, and you play to die there. That's exactly what the Favelas did, and that's why they won the round.
I remember Arial Arise at one point were up 5-1, but it seems they've run into trouble in Paradise. The lead has slipped away, and Favelas go back to a site that they've won previously. So this is looking to be a 6-5 game unless this cheeky lineup from Arial Arise works out. They've got Freak on grid. Ports will pick up the Dokkaebi. They've been running pretty consistently. Ying, not an odd sight to see on Villa, but Gridlock definitely is. Bringing out Osa as well for Reed. So this is screaming Osa smoke plant to me.
Yeah, with, oh my god, with 4 sets of smokes in play, I suspect we might see a couple of those smokes tossed down from the skylight.
Oh,
and
maybe.
the rest of those smokes, the rest of those smokes devoted to just your typical doorways, your typical crossfires. Often we will see 2 well-placed smokes from the skylight can completely choke off the site, prevent those defenders in Trophy from supporting the statuary side of things and creating a beautiful cutoff and cross. But right now, almost all of those smokes still remain in pocket. 2 of them expended now as some burn will begin. Here goes Jay right on cue, looking for the lineup, trying to find the right smokes, checking his work as he does so, but he's got to move quickly. At some point, you've got to make a step because Tones has already fallen, and you're down 1. And when you go for a push like this, you've got to make sure the man advantage is in your favor.
Smokes are coming in to try and isolate the sites. Osa shield follows, and that is why it's the Ying on the roof. She can chuck Candelas down. The Osa has to take this fight against the Umai. He'll win it and try to back off, but Barring has the trade. Freak is down as well. Jay is doing his best to keep his team in this, but now it's him and Quartz. In a 2 versus 3 case, once again dropped. Freak, I don't know if he's recoverable, not because of the position he's in, but because of where his teammates are. They've got to cut all the way through the site to get to him. Luckily, Orts was still on the roof. He'll hop in and try to go for the res. But Barring starting to move through, as is Bio. Barring gets the kill on Jay from across the site. Freak, sure, he's still alive, but Barring is running amok. Quartz finally shuts him down. The HP is firmly in the favor of the Favelas. Plant starts being completed behind the Osa shield. Freak has the cover he needs, with the smoke to back it up. Here comes Bio taking the close fight. He'll lose it. The plant goes down, but Rudy, he's got the Osa shield. He can see Freak's every move, and the Favelas take us within 1 point of overtime.
They are hanging in there, and they have completed this comeback. Only 1 round to go, and they have made it as close as possible. Gosh, they are hanging in and fighting this one out, and they even managed to dodge the bullet there of the 4 sets of smokes, the 8 total smokes, plus the Candelas, plus the track stingers from the gridlock. They held their own on the defensive side, and you got to shout them out for that. Well played by Arial Arise, at least well conceived, I'd say, in the actual execution. Losing tones before the execute actually began was a bit of an error, because in terms of the trade game, you can no longer just trade your way to a win. You're now down a man. You've got to come in clutch, get that bomb down, or somebody has to get a double kill. But the use of those smokes was excellent, bouncing them off the skylight to completely cut off the trophy angle. And while that should have made things a lot easier, well, it should have simply said, okay, the only threat now is the defenders in statuary themselves. And to their credit, they did that, and that was the only threat. The only problem is that very threat ended up beating them down. Those defenders won the round.
And I gotta be honest, Tones was probably the worst attacker to lose in that situation. Probably second only to the Ying. Because Tones' entire job is to sit on that boar cutoff. And without him dead, no one took up his position. Not only that, but the EE1D meant to lock those defenders in place while the initial smoke charge comes out. You no longer have that. The Lion, not only the utility, but the position as well, is an integral piece of the puzzle. Arial Arise didn't have that. So now we go down the dining, and I'm worried, Jonah. I really am. Because even though Arial Arise won this round, it took a 1v3 from Jay. Hell, if that doesn't happen, then the Favelas are up 6-5 right now.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Just thinking about it, it is firmly the Favelas who have been dominant on the defensive side, with that one exception. Now, of course, this round is not off to the same start, and not the start that a desperate Favelas are looking for. They'd love to get this last round. They need this last round if they want to prolong this matchup and get at least 1 point. But they've lost Rudy right off the bat. A 5v4 for Arial Arise, a great way for this attack to begin. They've used these X-Kairos pellets masterfully as well, already opening up more angles for them to work with, spotting out Bio with the drone, and Quartz in a perfect position to capitalize.
Quartz having a hell of a game, really taking this grudge match to heart. He is 16-7. That is tremendous. So we're 3 versus 5. Arial Arise firmly in the driver's seat. Arrow claps back, though, takes out Jay. Reed the next to fall. Arrow is holding the site down, but Quartz, at the perfect time, comes up to flank for his 3rd kill of the round. Looking to get traded. There's Barry with a big kill, looking for another, but can't connect the shots. Really low on HP. He'll be reliant on Slothy to do the brunt of this, but the C4 misses. He's shot while throwing it. Freak goes huge with the cover. He and Quartz tag on for all 5 and lock out the match for Arial Arise.
Again, it came down to the wire in the end of that round, but so well done by Quartz to give them that win in the end. Such a performance, 16-7, a triple kill on the round. Well, maybe 17-7 now after he got that kill in the end. Either way, an exceptional performance from Quartz. Great work from Freak in the end to put them over the top, but just in that last round alone, Quartz showcasing what makes him so dangerous, because he had some good intel from his teammates, but he just used that entire basement floor and just made it his own territory. No defender could step foot on a staircase or in the basement without running into him first or at some point during their prowl. He made all 3 of those defenders pay, and by extension, he won the round despite the Favelas putting up a pretty good fight.
Yeah, that was huge from Quartz getting those openers because that's where Ariel Arise kind of struggled, losing Tones super early on in a couple of those crucial rounds. I mean, and Tones' opening deaths were really what lost them those rounds as well, right? Dropping Case over in Bathroom and forcing the entire team to rotate, and then losing your Lion, watching Boar
Yeah.
on that Ying Skylight rush. But they cleaned up in that very last round, and after a 5-1 half, a good clutch, and a one-man performance, or I guess two-man performance, thanks to Freak getting those last 2 kills, is all you need to win a game, just because they had a tremendous first half. Had that first half been 4-2, completely different game. We would be in overtime right now. So it just goes to show you how important every single round is in Siege. But Jonah, that is match number 3 done and dusted. We got one more to go, but before we get there, we got to go back to the desk to discuss just how much Favelas has impressed so far.
Connor, it was just like we discussed before the matchup. We talked about how close this one would be. Now, Connor, you may not have thought that after the first half because Arial Arise showing their resiliency on defense. Even when they're getting planted against, it seems like it wouldn't matter. They shut it down. But Favelas showing that they've taken huge strides this year in their overall team play.
Yeah, probably the biggest thing that I still want to see some positives out of for the side of Favelas would be strength on attack. As we know, and as I alluded to earlier, Slothy is a defensive warrior. He started off 1-6 after his attacking half and then turned it up, I believe hitting double digits and looking good while doing it as his team started to mount a comeback. But there were just still some moments for the Favelas where it seemed like they got away from themselves. They got ahead of themselves. It took too many steps forward and they didn't really, dot their I's and cross their T's, especially on some of those retake potentials, which was what we saw from them absolutely obliterating One Shot just a week ago.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I found really interesting, Cookie, is that I love to see, when as metas change, as things update, you like to see teams and strategies, kind of adopt new patterns with them. We saw Living Room, which is not something that here in CL, I know it's happened in Pro League. There are teams that have adopted that site, but I don't think we've ever seen it in Challenger League.
If we have, it's definitely been a hot New York minute. Now, I will say it's probably just because it's just like a different look. It's the same concept, but it's a different look. You've got a lot more emphasis on we talk about Quartz. This dude got like a double kill. The round you're talking about, you got like a double kill with the shotgun through the floor. It's just a different way of playing the site. Instead of like the full C4ing up, you got the shotguns looking down, and it just happened to be that little bit of a difference, that little bit of a awkwardness to it as an attacker that was a difference for Arial Rise. Of course, this was a, almost said something bad, but this was a sniff away from being, an overtime affair. And to defend Favelas, there were a lot of times where opportunities that were missed, some whiff shots, barring maybe he hunt a little. What's crazy is barring whiff like he did, he still dropped 14 kills. Like there was times where they had side control on AVG and they just get wall banged, like just a god tier wall bang. It's like, they're not like, I don't think there's room for any overreactions like towards Favelas or towards Arial Rise. Mm-hmm. It's just sometimes the ball rolls the wrong way, and that happens a lot for Favelas, unfortunately. They can bounce back tomorrow.
Well, it's fun that sometimes it's not always predictable. Sometimes unpredictable things happen, and that's what we got today. Now, we are going to talk to Tones, which you may not have predicted because we haven't talked to Tones yet. This will be the first time. Tones, congratulations on the big win for you guys. This was a tough one. Did you expect this one to possibly go the distance?
Yeah, all week, I was pretty much saying this is going to be our hardest game. Like, they're unpredictable. They're, like, really adaptive. Like, these guys are playing some good Siege. So, yeah, I expected it to be difficult, but we should have definitely closed that out earlier.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys, your defense looked very, very strong. Do you think, the possibilities there that had your defense not been as strong as it was and been your focal point of your success, that maybe we may have seen a different result?
Probably, but like we knew going into this exactly how these guys were gonna play, like exactly how they were gonna attack. So we kept it really adaptable, kept switching up defenses, and just countered them perfectly.
As the stage goes on now, do you feel that you guys have gotten better as a group together, like with the roster changes and whatnot?
Yeah, at first it was definitely a setback and a little bit stressful watching Jesse go to Mirage, like right before the season started, and we put in all this work during the off season. But picking up courts was probably the best thing we've ever done. Like, oh shit, my phone.
No worries, it happens.
Yeah, I mean, he fits perfectly. He bridges us very well. Like he's really just molds with us really well. That's the way I can put it.
Well, he was a huge factor today. Congratulations again, and good luck on the rest of the stage, especially as things wind down for those playoff spots.
Thank you. Good luck with the desk. Hopefully you get that T1 offer soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Stones.
See ya.
See, I love that. We always look out for the players and we wish them the best, and it's nice to get the love in return sometimes.
Also,
yes.
you don't want to gloss over the bald head, because right there, that is Freak as well as Tones gaming in the same room, gaming with the same trim. This whole mentality mantra that we've seen out of Ape, Wichita Wolves, Arial Arise, all iterations of this roster. They drink raw eggs. How are you gonna beat that?
Sometimes I can't beat it. So you know what? The only thing to do is to go to a break, since you've beaten me here, Connor. But we're gonna go to that break when we come back with the final match of the day: Vipers taking on Aqualix.